Good morning, everyone. I'm Jim Knotts, and I have the pleasure of leading Operation Homefront. Our focus as an organization is emergency financial assistance for our military families. We also do some transitional housing, some permanent housing, a lot of morale programs in a lot of locations around the country. I'm kind of unique, and that's why I'm going to introduce our panelists here. And the Operation Homefront doesn't go over on the Hill and fight for these issues, but we work very interactively with the organizations represented here today and many others who do go, and they're the people, as General Swan described, when you're counting on those other people to know the details of these issues and to fight for you in Congress to make sure that the right things are funded and we're taking care of our troops, we're ready to do the mission, and we're also taking care of the families. So I am going to briefly just tell you who's up here, and we're going to get started with the panelists. Before I do, I have two administrative things. I'll just tell you there is wireless access in the room here. You should see it as one of the Marriott networks, and the password is AUSA 2014. It should be all lowercase. And for those of you who might be tweeting about the session today, we do ask you to use the hashtag AUSAFamily. So with that, I'm going to do a brief introduction to tell you kind of what we're going to do with the panel here. We have obviously four panelists. We have Bill Loper, the Director of Government Affairs from the Association of the United States Army. Second will be Anthony Wallace, the Director of Legislation and Government Affairs from the Association of the United States Navy. Eileen Huck, the Deputy Director of Government Affairs from the National Military Family Association. And finally, Christine Robbins from the Air Force Association, Director of Government Relations. So Mr. Loper is going to start off talking about sequestration in a little more detail. Now, I'll tell you what, I know that most of you are really concerned about very specific things that are affecting your lives, and that's where your focus should be. You've heard about, cuts to commissaries. You've heard about issues with DoD schools and whether or not the teachers are going to be paid for the days to be there that they need to get a good school year for your kids. You've heard about pay raises or what some people see as a pay cut. You've heard about changes in BAH and all the kinds of things that are part of the proposed DoD budget. Okay, so what we're going to do is talk to you about how those specific items fit into the bigger picture of that DoD budget process, our federal budget process, because that really is where a lot of these issues stem from. So Mr. Loper is going to talk about sequestration. Mr. Wallace is going to talk about the president's budget and issues that specifically are related to families. Ms. Huck is going to talk about the commissary and potentially some other family issues, but that's a pretty deep one right there, just the commissaries. And then Ms. Robbins is going to talk about proposed changes to TRICARE. She's our cleanup hitter today, and we've probably given her the hardest topic. So feel free to ask questions as we go along. Each of our panelists is going to talk for about 10 to 15 minutes, and I'll be the official timekeeper. But we will have a session specifically for Q&A afterwards. You have cards in front of you if you want to write your questions there. That's the easiest way for me to be able to take those questions and get them to our panelists a little bit later. Or we'll have a couple of microphones if we need them when we get to that point. And finally, before we get started, I would just say that in sessions like this, a lot of times people want to ask questions about their very specific family situation, and we want to be sensitive to privacy and those kinds of things. So if you ask a question and it starts going down in a direction where we think we need an expert to sit down and talk to you in more detail about your situation and then get you to the right organization or organizations that can help, if you could please stand up real quick. This is Patty Barron from the Association of the United States Army. I'm going to refer you over to Patty, and she'll do just that. She'll talk to you about your situation and make sure that we can get you in touch with a subject matter expert that can help with those very personal family situations. Okay? So first up is Mr. Loper.